Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. Today I'm working in my Favorite Things art journal, and I'm going to show you how to take little bits and pieces of magazine images looking for just specific colors and textures and create something into something else that you can recognize, such as this hamburger. I created this hamburger from just bits and pieces of magazine image, so it's a collaged art piece. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's something fun and different for you to try in your book, and use this for inspiration. Do a page in your My Favorite Things art journal of what your favorite food is. My favorite food, a good burger, and my favorite burger would be my uncle. He has a Big Green Egg barbecue and he makes the most fabulous burgers ever. And of course, my favorite thing on the side is always my mom's homemade potato salad. So let's get started, and I'll show you how I created this fun page. So what I'm going to do is take magazine images and I'm going to do some collaging, cutting, tearing, layering, and that's what I'm going to make my hamburger image out of. So I'm starting to look for things, that magazine pages that have colors, like colors that would be in the hamburger bun. Lettuce, this would obviously work for lettuce on the burger. That might work for some highlights in the hamburger bun. Things like that. There's some more green if I need it. So I'm going to just get started and show you how I do this. This is just something fun and different that I like to do. I'm just taking a regular piece of just generic copy paper, you know, that you put in your printer. And the first thing I'm going to layer this just like you would the actual sandwich. Kind of funny, but I'm going to start with the bottom bun. So I'm taking some magazine images that have the colors that would be in bread, and I'm just going to start laying down some images. And I'm just using plain old glue stick. Doesn't matter, because I am going to put another coat of matte medium over the top when I am done with it. So for now, I'm just using it as my layering on paper. So what I'm doing is just tearing out little bits and pieces of paper, and all I'm looking for is that color, or the colors. I don't care what the pattern is on it, and I don't care what the paper looks like. I'm looking for color because I'm trying to create a resemblance of this image. And at the end, you could always go back in and add some acrylic paints or watercolors or a colored pencil, because you know what? Art is interpretive, and this is your art and your art journal, so you should do whatever you want to it. There are no rights and no wrongs. It's all just about playing and having fun and layering stuff. It's just a fun process. Okay, now I don't want my image to be too terribly big because I want it to fit in my book. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to let that dry real quick. So if I were to draw this out like I'm going to have it on my page and use this as my guide, I would just want this to be about this size to go on my page. And there's going to be that first layer, that's going to be the bun, and then the burger. It's going to be about here. Maybe a slice of cheese poking out, and some lettuce, maybe some tomato, and then the top bun. So if you just wing it, there's my burger. So now I could use this as my generalized template for creating this collage. So what you could do is you could come in with your scissors and you could cut this out piece by piece, so you're using it then as a template. So you sketched it out, and now I'm going to just cut this out as a template. There's my bottom bun right here. So when I've done my colors on here, I want to make sure that it fits and that it's bigger than, and it is not. So I'm going to add some more to it. So I'm using magazine image that looks, it's mountains, but it's got nice texture and color to it. So I'm going to add that in there. And this might seem really funny and odd, but trust me, as you go along, you get the gist, and the outcome is just super different and fun. It's just different. It's collage, you know, and collage is just fun and interesting to look at. Okay, so I've got images down. And now I could either take a pen and draw around that, or I could just hold it on top of it. I think I'll just hold it on, and I'm going to just cut this out. And I'm not being precise. This is going to be an art image of a hamburger, so it certainly doesn't need to be perfect, you know. I mean, be loose in your art and enjoy the process of it and have fun just being wild and free. So here is my bottom bun piece. I love it. And now I'm going to move on to the next part. So the next part of my image is right here. And this is going to be my hamburger patty. So I'm going to cut that out next. Just roughly. Here's the piece that's going to resemble my hamburger image. So I'm going to look for magazine images that are dark and textured. Now this is a picture of a gourd in the ground and some work gloves, like somebody gardening, and they're pulling this out of the garden. And that right there, I mean, how much more can you get something to look like hamburger meat, you know? That's perfect for this collage. So I'm going to use that in my image. I love it. So I'm going to tear out some dark pieces out of magazines, different textures, different shapes, and just start putting them down. This may seem like a really messy, odd, and awkward activity to do, but it will really teach you how to use your eyes in a different way when you see stuff. You know, you look at something and everyone's used to looking at things in a certain manner. So you look at a flower and you know it's a flower. But in collage, you're kind of training your eyes to look for colors rather than specific outlines and shapes. You're looking for textures and you're looking for colors. And you're piecing it together to create something out of it that it isn't, if that makes any sense. So you're making something out of something else, which I think is the most fun part. So here I go again. I'm putting my image over the top. And now I'm going to just use my scissors and cut that out. And I don't want it to be just straight, so I'm wiggling my scissors back and forth because a hamburger patty is not perfect and flat and straight. It's textured and shapely. So I'm shaping it, and that part won't matter at the top because it's going to have other things over it. Okay, and there's my collage piece. Now this is going to go over this to make the burger on the bun. So maybe you can see it coming to coming into focus and becoming something. And really, this is just such a super, super fun type of a technique to play with. It's lots of fun. Now I'm going to take that gourd and I'm going to make that slice of cheese out of that gourd. So I'm just going to make it have a point. I love the color, and it looks like it's going to look like a piece of cheese on there, hopefully, when it's laying across the burger. See that? Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun, and seriously, if you try this out, you're going to really enjoy it. You can do anything. You can sketch out a picture of a flower and then collage it with different little bits and pieces of magazine image. You can do a dog and cut out the pieces of the face to create it into a dog or a cat. And you're going to love the end results. The texture and the look of it is just fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing it so that hopefully you guys will enjoy it too, and find it's different and something unusual that you haven't tried yet. Okay, next is my lettuce, and I don't need the template for this. I've got a magazine image of lettuce, and so this will be perfect, and I'm just going to cut it real roughly. Of course, that's kale. It's not really lettuce, but on a burger it will look like lettuce. So see, that's going to create the look of lettuce on the burger. I'm going to do another piece here. So fun. You guys probably think I'm crazy, but if you've never done this type of collage, you're going to really find it fun, I think. Okay. Now I need something for the tomato, so I'm going to look for something red. So I just found this color. It's kind of a reddish color, and I just cut out a funny oblong shape. And later, when it's all put together, you can go back in and draw in details, which I'll probably do. I'll probably draw it to be more of a slice and maybe put in the seeds of the tomato possibly. So that's what that looks like so far. And then I thought, hey, I forgot pickles. We got to do pickles. So now I'm looking for something green, more of a bright green. These mountains would be kind of perfect. And so I'm just going to cut out some crazy wonky circle-y things. It's not going to be perfect circles, but these will maybe it will work for a pickle. It kind of looks like it. And you definitely have to use your imagination. So this is a great exercise in being creative and using your imagination and doing something totally different. Perfect. Those look like pickles. So we're on a roll. So all that's left really is for me to do the top bun. So I'm going to come in here and cut out my bun shape because I definitely need that for using as a template. Let me just trim that out. And then I'm going to use this part of the piece of paper to glue down my elements. And again, I'm just going to start tearing colors and textures. So anything that is bun colored, I'm going to start gluing down. And you want to overlap them where there's a straight line because you don't really want those straight rough edges. And I found this. This would be great. It's perfect color. Love that. That's perfect. And see, then when you hold this up over, you can see where you're still needing some pieces. You're just kind of using that as your guide. That template is your guide. Perfect. Now I'm ready to cut that out. So I can lay that over, hold it in place, and cut out my hamburger bun. I hope you're enjoying watching this as much as I am creating it. And as it comes together, you're going to see just how cool and different and funky and fun it is. And that's what we want in our art journals, is something we made out of something else and how fun and different it looks. So there is my bun. That is just the coolest looking collage hamburger I think I've ever seen. So from taking scraps of magazine images with looking for just specific colors and textures and placing them together, look what we were able to create. It looks like a hamburger. So now your eye recognizes it as a hamburger. So that's what I was saying. When you're doing collage, it trains your mind to look for things and look at things in a completely different way. Okay, so for my background, because my book is a craft color and I want to kind of cover that up, I'm just using a baby wipe and some antique white just to come in here, and very messy. I'm going to just put that down and spread it around using a baby wipe as your first layer with some acrylic paint. Just is a very, very fast and easy way of just getting some color down on your page. I learned that by watching some tutorials by Tisha Moore. When she makes her art journals, she puts down liquid acrylics, fluid acrylics, and uses a baby wipe, and 2 hot seconds she's got her page covered. And I've just found that even in my other art journals, it just is a great first layer. So baby wipe, drop or two of paint, spread it around. I'm still leaving it a little bit craft colored, but that just kind of brightened it up a little, which is what I wanted to do. So now I'm going to take my second colors, and I'm going to use a paintbrush for my next 2 colors for the next layer. So I'm going to just take my paintbrush and get my paint down on the page. No specific means to it. I'm using 2 light blues, a china blue and a powder blue, and then a little bit darker of a blue. And I'm just going to get them on there with not a lot of thought. But I don't want them too thin because of what I'm going to do with the technique I'm going to do. In fact, I'm going to stop and show you that before I move on to the second page. I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap and put that over this page while that paint is still wet, and then tear it off. My paint may have already been a little bit too dry. Yep, it dried really fast. But I think I can mist it. Let me try. Let's see if that'll help. It just makes a really fun and cool, interesting background. And I'm going to add some more paint since it's a little wet. It needs to be kind of wet for this, and these pages that are craft have a tendency to really suck up your paint fast. It looks good. I like it. It's creating interesting texture is what I'm going for. So look at that as a background. That's really fun. Isn't that cool? I love that. So I'm going to go and repeat that on the opposite side. So now it's time to assemble my hamburger design. I'm using TriArt matte gel medium, and the gel is thicker than just regular matte medium, and you can use whatever you want, so play around with the different brands. I like TriArt. I've tried just about every brand, and TriArt is my favorite. So I'm going to put down my little first layer here, which is the bottom of the bottom bun. I'm just putting some underneath and then going over the top. And then I'm just using my finger while it's wet to, I didn't get enough underneath, to burnish it down. You just want to burnish it down to get that. Be careful, because if you push too hard or you rub too much on a magazine image, you might take the magazine color off. So just be careful when you're doing that. Okay, so the next thing, of course, is the burger patty. Woohoo! Gonna add the burger patty to the bun. Just too fun. I hope you guys are liking this. I love it. I love it. It's just fun. And here's my little piece of gourd, but it's going to represent a patty of cheese. How funny is that? But it looks realistic. It looks like cheese on a burger. You'd never know that that was a gourd being harvested out of the ground. So now I'm going to put my lettuce. And my tomato slice. And my pickles. And the final thing is the bun. I started a little higher, but when I had it laid out, I wasn't sure it was going to fit on the page, and that's okay, because I can do a border or something. Should have done it a little higher and had it on a plate, but that's okay. Alright, so there is my collaged burger. Love it. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and do some colored pencil and pen work on it to add a little bit more realism to it. So while that is drying, I think I'm going to add some more interest on my background just with a stencil and some acrylic paint and a cosmetic sponge. Nothing new and exciting there. We've all done that. If you've done mixed media, you've probably learned that as your first thing. But it just adds a little bit more interest and texture in this background, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use 3 different colors and 3 different shapes, just adding a little bit of something something here. grunging it up. And this is just a stencil I got on eBay. I paid less than $1 for it. Came from a distributor in China. This was a year or two ago, so I use it a lot. I like it. It's kind of a fun stencil to do patterns with. It's got some interesting patterns. And as you can see, I'm not putting a whole lot of thought. I always like my designs to take your eye across the page, so that's what I'm doing. I think I'm going to go this direction over here, like that, and I'm going to call that good. Let that dry a little bit before I do my next step. And while my background is drying a bit, I have this, I keep all my pages when I get images from places in a file cabinet in folders, and I looked for silverware. I found this in an old book that was falling apart. It came from a thrift shop, and this is like a book on antiques, and so I'm going to go ahead and trim out the fork, knife, and spoon to add to my page. Okay, my background is dry. I went ahead and applied these down with matte gel medium, just like I had done my collage burger image. And now for the next step, I'm going to use gesso and a brayer. And a lot of artists do this. Recently, I took a class from Pia Rom. I believe she's from Germany. And she calls this her magical mist layer. And I like how it creates that grungy element. It kind of ties everything in. She just puts them down and then brayers it out. She goes over her image, which I'm going to lightly go over. And she goes over her background. And she really brayers it good, brayers it smooth. And it just kind of, a lot of people do this. I'm sure you've seen this a lot. But see how I'm going over my burger. It just tones everything down, and then, like she said, it makes your magical mist. So it makes it look kind of milky. So I thought that would be a really nice way of doing this background, especially with the brighter images over here. Just tones them down. You can still see them. And you can still see that cool design that you did in the background with your stenciling, but it just makes it a little more dreamy and grungy. Make sure I'm not getting it on my previous page. And then I'm going to let that layer dry. I definitely like how that toned everything down and tied everything in together. Now I'm going to take some foam stamps. These were back from my scrapbooking days, and they were by Creative Memories, or Making Memories, and you basically just put your paint on them and then press them down, and it stamps your letters. I don't know if they're still available out there. Probably. Or some other brand probably has them. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp the word food right over my silverware. Now I'm going to use my Snap Together letter set. These stamps snap together, and it's nice because they line up perfectly for stamping words. And I'm going to use Ranger Archival ink in black, and I'm going to do the words my favorite for my favorite food, and then over here around this I'm going to do a good burger. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp my words on my page. Just like that. And I use these a lot because I love the way they snap together, and they can only go together one way, so you never get upside down letters. And you can snap them together to create your words, so it's super easy. I love these. So here's my words stamped. My favorite food, a good burger. So now what I'm going to do is go back in and I'm going to add some fun details to this. Since you've got that layer of gesso brayered over the top, you can come back in and you can use things like Neocolor 2 or colored pencil, and you can add some shading and colors and details. So the Neocolor, I can just come in and add a little bit of extra color to the bun with a little bit of a yellow, I think this is yellow ochre, golden ochre. But you just color it on and blend with your finger. Super easy. And look how fast you can just add some shading and some detail to your image. Ooh, that comes up bright on camera, but in person it's not as stark bright. In fact, it looks bun colored, so I don't know why it looks so bright. So anyway, you can just do that and come in and use your Neocolors if you have them. Like, let's see, I can go over this little pickle here and make it a little more pickle colored on the edge. I think that looks tomato, that looks cheese, that looks fine. Maybe add a little bit of brown to the burger. This is just throwing in a little bit of shading and detail. And it also kind of blends in the pieces of paper that you've collaged. It kind of makes them a little bit more together. If you can see that, see how it makes them not even look like that was pieced together with a whole bunch of different pieces of paper, but now it looks all one. And I'm going to use a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen to come in here and draw some little sesame seeds. Blend them out with my fingers so that they're not so stark. And when these dry, they have India ink in them, so they're permanent when they dry. They blend while they're wet, and then when they dry, they're permanent. So they're kind of fun to use. So there are some sesame seeds on the bun. And then I can take a colored pencil. This is a white Stabilo, and I can just add some little highlight touches to them to make them look more realistic. There's my little sesame seed bun. And I want it to look artsy and artistic, so I'm taking just a graphite. This is a Faber-Castell graphite pencil. It is a 4B, and I'm going to come around here and just really in a sketchy manner draw around this and on it, just to make it look a little more artistic. You don't have to do these things. This is just my take on it. You do what you want to do in your art journal. This is just for ideas and inspiration. If you like what I did and you can't come up with something, then this will maybe give you an idea of something to do. But if you want to do something different, do whatever you like. It's your art journal and it should be your artwork. Let's do a little shadow here under my piece of cheese. Add a little texture here to the burger. And I'm being really, really super sketchy with it. Keeping it loose and sketchy. Cool. I like it, and now it really kind of stands out. And I'm going to use an Arteza brush pen in a really dark blue to come around here and make a brushed on border. And I'm letting it go just kind of grungy, not perfect, and going with the texture of the page just to tie that in, because I like my borders. I just think they always seem to add something to it. So that's what I'm going to do, is go around and create that border. So the last thing I want to add is some realistic looking gloss to my sesame seeds. This is a really cool applicator bottle with a skinny little tip, so it does really fine detail. And I filled it with glossy accents. So I'm going to go ahead and put glossy accents down on each little spot here to make realistic looking sesame seeds. So here's what they look like. You just want to apply it, and they make a nice three-dimensional little drop. You just put a little droplet down, and then you're going to have to leave it alone for a couple of hours and not touch it, and completely let them dry so that they stay nice and round and full. If you try to shut your book too fast, they're going to flatten out, or it might stick your pages together. So let it dry for a couple of hours. But if you use glossy accents, it's pretty cool, because look at, I've got some realistic looking little sesame seeds on my bun. Pretty fun. And now that I've got this all done, the last thing that you can do for a little bit of texture in the background, I'm taking my Uniposca pen. It's got a 0.7 bullet shaped tip. It's a very fine, extra fine tip here. And I'm just going to come in and do some scribbling on the background. And that, I'm just tapping it out with my hand because I don't want it stark white, but this just adds a little bit more interest in grunge. I just finished taking the taster classes from Willowing, and Tiare, I hope I'm saying her name right, Tiare Smith does this on her pages just to add that extra little grunge element, just some random scribbling. And I really love the effect of it. You don't think about it. You kind of just come in here and scribble messy. But the bottom end result is pretty fun. We'll see what it does is make some just cool scribbly marks. It just adds to the grunginess and fun of your background. So here's my finished piece, and I hope you enjoyed watching this, and maybe it inspired you and gave you some new ideas of something fun to try in your art journal. So grab your supplies, grab your My Favorite Things art journal, and create a page depicting what your favorite food is. And if you're new to this art journal project, you can start it at any time. There's going to be a playlist in the description below. There's a link to the playlist. It'll start you from the very beginning, and you can make an art journal with all your favorite things, and all these layouts are on the playlist. So you can start at any time, work at your own pace, and finish it at any time. It's just something fun to do. It's to inspire you, and when we're all done and we decorate the cover, you're going to have a gorgeous little art journal that you filled with your own artwork and fun ideas and things that depict your favorite things. So I hope you play along. There's a Facebook group if you want to join and post pictures of what you're creating. And if you're just doing it on your own, I hope you're having a good time, and check back, as we only have, I think, about maybe 6 or 7 more to go before our little book here is filled. So thanks for stopping by today, and I hope you had fun, and I hope you're making art, because art soothes the heart.